Oh, hey, Max here, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to a third episode of this experimental weekly video game industry news series. Emphasis on news, because yes, I am going over news, but I wouldn't really call it the news, because it's more like my opinions on what's going on, the comings and goings of the industry, and you're listening to that and me ramble, because if I don't make videos about this, I'm gonna annoy one of my friends to death with industry talk, because I love it. I love the industry so much that I just need to make YouTube videos about it to get it all out of my system. In this series, if you're new to it, I try to cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of the industry, and starting with good news. And then at the end of the episode, I usually kind of tell you what I'm excited for, game release wise, and what I am playing currently. In the background this week is Marvel Rivals Season 7. White Fox just dropped. I'm really liking her. I already got a bunch of the new skins, including the White Fox skin. And I might even try competitive this time around, legitimately, and not just kind of play it a little bit, because I heard she has a gold rank skin reward, and despite my questionable skill set at this game, I might actually try to go for it. But enough about me, let's just get right into the good news. Some minor good news starting out with Glenn Powell is playing Fox McCloud in the Super Mario Galaxy movie. I didn't see the first one, but I do like Fox. Star Fox Assault was one of my favorite GameCube games on that system. Even though I didn't have a GameCube, my cousins had the GameCube, but we played it there. And then I had a backwards compatible Wii, and I got Star Fox Assault for my backwards compatible Wii, and I played a lot of it on that. So it's still one of my favorite Nintendo games of all time. It's cool to see him in the I'm laughing, sorry. It's cool to see him in the movie, and he's being played by a very prominent actor. I think that's good news. I think some of my friends would disagree. They'd like Mario characters in their Mario movie. And sticking on the topic of Nintendo, they're going to actually be dropping the prices of their digital games by $10. If you want a physical copy, it's going to probably run you about the average of $70 to $80, where a digital game will probably run you an average of $60 to $70, depending on the cost. I really don't know how that's just going to change the pricing, but they announced that on their official blog this week. And you know what? This is where consumer feedback really counts. People have been wanting markets to drop their digital prices versus their physical prices, and this is a good way to kind of maintain a good business in good faith. Nintendo's kind of already struggling with the Nintendo Switch 2, which we'll get into in the bad news section. But yeah, I think in order to increase revenue, which Nintendo, despite being Nintendo, they've struggled to generate revenue before. The Wii U, I don't really have any much more input to add other than this is going to help the people who are maybe debating on getting a Switch 2 maybe look into it more. But hold your horses. Not really video game related, but important, I think, enough to the industry, given last week's topic of AI. Sora, the video AI app, the generative video AI app, is shuttering. The OpenAI company is kind of exploring different options that don't involve video generation, and it seems like their leadership don't want to totally back out of it, but it's not where their interests lie. And with that, Disney pulls out their $1.5 billion investment from OpenAI. They were originally invested $1.5 billion in, allowing OpenAI to make generative videos of Disney characters and Disney properties. No longer happening, and they're going to look elsewhere. Don't know if jobs were affected. I'm always reporting on layoffs. I couldn't really find any information about layoffs. I don't think a lot of people cared to look or cared to ask when this story broke, but to me it just sounds like they just closed that website down and they're going to look elsewhere and move people to probably different roles. But in my opinion, AI could be used for something better than the generative purpose. I've already explained that. I am not wholly anti-AI, but I am very anti-generative AI. there are AI like programs that can be really beneficial. For example, my dad gave me a really good one. At his work, the AI that they have there really just kind of gives you bullet points of like video Zoom meetings. So it's like an artificial note taker. And I think, yeah, that can AI that kind of knocks some of that little tedium out. That's where the investment should lie, not ones that have historically ripped from algorithms and damaged the ecosystem greatly by generating movies and in little funny memes of cats or dogs blowing up elderly people at their house. Not a fan of generative AI. I would be a liar if I said I didn't laugh at a couple of those goofy little videos that people did generate. I think some people out there have some great comedic timing that they should, explore in a different medium. A semi-good news, I guess, back on Nintendo. I don't really think it's like super worth covering, but everyone else is talking about it, so I guess I'll talk about it here. There was some leaks earlier this Friday as of recording about allegedly another Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake for the Switch 2 and a new Star Fox game. If you want my insight, sure. I guess we can always use another Ocarina of Time remake because you can really only realistically play it on the 3DS or your Wii if you still have like the Virtual Console version downloaded, or if you're lucky enough you have an N64 or a GameCube that can also play it. So yeah, I guess more people get more Ocarina of Time. I think it's a pretty decent Zelda game. I've never rolled credits on it. I've only rolled credits on Breath of the Wild 1 and not Tears of the Kingdom. I surprisingly never been a huge Zelda fan, but not in the sense I think it's bad, just like in the sense of like I like other franchises first, and it's my least prioritized franchise. If it's true that there's a Star Fox game coming out this year, it would make sense if it would align with the Mario movie, because maybe not only is the theory that Fox is supposed to somehow set up a Super Smash Bros. Movie, but maybe Nintendo needs to generate hype for a new Star Fox game, therefore he is in the Super Mario Galaxy movie. He does seem like a kind of random addition that just fits in with the Galaxy theme, so maybe he was always planned, but hey, let's not be surprised until the middle of the year, where allegedly other leaks have shown that Nintendo won't have a proper Nintendo Direct until June or July. So we wait till then, and we might see some news on Star Fox. But leaks are all over the place. Hard not to talk about, especially on a little news segment. If you want, and once again, using news lightly, putting that very lightly. Oh, and on the Xbox side of things, allegedly Ashish Sharma is looking into decreasing the cost to subscribe to Game Pass, which is a good thing because Game Pass used to be really worth it, and now it's not. So if this is all alleged, they're exploring that path. They have ended the Xbox Everywhere campaign where they were trying to basically, it sounded like Xbox was going to be more than just the console with that campaign. That's over. And now they're exploring more affordability with Game Pass. Is it going to go back to like the normal tiers? I doubt it. I think they're going to divide it up into smaller tiers, if I was to guess. They've had not the best decisions lately, and if they're trying to increase revenue, they're probably going to divide it up into more chunks of tiers rather than reducing the old tiers, rather than walking back to the old tiers, because if that already wasn't making money and they had to increase it, I don't think walking back is going to make a whole lot of sense. And if I had to guess, I would assume they're going to divvy up into more tiers to make it more affordable. So you might have like a $5.99 a month version that maybe will allow you to play like a rotation of games. For example, that's just speculation, no confirmation. I literally just came up with that. Maybe I'm wrong. I would like to be wrong. But you know what? Affordability in the games market right now is crucial, so at least they're exploring it. And that's it for the good news. Let's move on to the bad news. The response from the NVIDIA CEO, Jensen Huang, says gamers are completely wrong about DLSS 5 as he responds to the backlash. This was a news story written by Tom's Hardware, by Andrew E. Friedman, and with contributions from Paul Alcorn, and it was published on March 17th, 2026. Paul Alcorn actually asked Jensen Huang, since DLSS 5 was revealed yesterday, there's been a pretty vocal response from some of the gaming community that the technology appears to make games worse, homogeneous, or show only NVIDIA's views of how games should look. How do you feel about this criticism? If I was the CEO, I would say there's been a miscommunication or a misunderstanding, or maybe even some admitting fault. Keep the PR good, keep your consumer base happy. He did not say that. He said, well, first off, they're completely wrong. Bad response. That's a bad response. First off, don't think gamers are wrong. I definitely don't feel wrong about not liking this new NVIDIA DLSS 5 update. And then he follows it up with, the reason for that is because, as I've explained very carefully, DLSS 5 fuses controllability of the geometry and textures of everything about the game with generative AI. Okay, but we're still missing generative AI is what people don't like. They don't want that, right? That's the backlash. And then the article states that Huang added that developers can still fine-tune the generative AI to match their style. Once again, the problem is Gen AI, right? And then adding that DLSS 5 adds generative capability to the existing geometry of the game, but that it doesn't change the artistic control. We're still missing the fact that the backlash is about generative AI. The whole thing that people are complaining about is not that the generative AI is taking over, it's that it's there in the first place. That's the complaint. That's where it stems from. In my comments, we had a pretty respectable debates. Some people like Gen AI, some people don't. But if the backlash is this huge, you need to reanalyze your strategy. I still don't think Gen AI should be in games. It should be in the voice acting. It shouldn't be in the art. It shouldn't be in the graphics or the level or geometry or whatever the hell. Just leave it out. Just leave it out. It's bad for your product. It's bad for the environment. Don't bother. Just don't bother. It's not worth it. And then ending it with, it's not post-processing. It's not post-processing at the frame level. It's generative control at the geometry level. He keeps saying at the geometry level. I'm going to be honest, that's going over my head as a consumer. Don't know what you mean. I assume this is coding maybe? Mathematics? Who cares? I think that our AI tools are so early and we're trying to advance it so fast to make a quick buck when we should be exploring what Gen AI or just AI can do to remove the tedium of life. And art's not tedious. That's a passion. People like to pursue it. And to cheapen art for money, it's bad. It's terrible and an insult to life itself, as Miyazaki would say. Some news from the Sony side of things. Today, Friday, they announced starting April 2nd, 2026, there will be price increases to the PlayStation 5. This is the exact opposite of what Xbox is doing, at least for games. Xbox and Nintendo are exploring affordability. It seems that Sony is just bumping up prices and saying, fuck affordability, you need to pay more for a PlayStation. So at this point, the PlayStation 5 is going to run you $649.99. My PlayStation 5 that I own cost me $560, and that was a little too expensive, but it also was like a God of War free edition bundle, so I don't know. I think it was because of that. But the digital edition is going up from $499 to $599. And the PS5 Pro is going up from $749.99 to $899.99. Holy hell. $100 price increases up the wazoo. Almost $1,000 for a PS5 Pro. I get the GPU market's not great. The cost of production has gone up. We'll get to that in a second with Nintendo. But holy hell, if you want a PS5, get one now. And if you are looking to sell your PS5, sell it, I guess, anytime this year. Oh my gosh. But oh my god, at this point, guys, if you're looking to get a new console, save your money a lot longer, because you might as well just buy a PC, and one with pretty good specs. You'll get something that'll last longer than a PlayStation 5, in my opinion. I used to be like, wait on a PC. I don't need a PC. And then last year I was like, I need a PC. I need one. And you're pushing, at this point, console companies are just pushing people to get PCs. I think at this point in time, if you're a gamer, a PC is your best investment. And I hate to say this because I think, I want everyone to be able to play games who has this hobby. But oh my gosh, it's getting increasingly difficult to even have a PlayStation or a Nintendo Switch 2. I'm pretty sure you can get an Xbox easily. No one wants one of those, unfortunately. I was a Xbox gamer for a long time. Staying on the console conversation, Nintendo is decreasing the production by 30% for the Nintendo Switch 2. This comes from mainly poor sales in the US from last year. And if I had to really guess, it mainly also just probably has to do with, in general, the GPU shortage, and they seem to be struggling with just Nintendo Switch 2 in general. All of my retailers have Nintendo Switch 2 games, but they don't have the Nintendo Switch 2. And it's probably also stems from the fact that some Switch 2 games can just be played on a Switch because it's just a cartridge with an upgrade key on it for the Switch 2. In my opinion, is it a bad move? Is it a move you should be worried about? I don't think so. I think if anything, they're gearing up to probably increase the production of the Switch 2, hopefully by 2027, so everyone can play Pokemon Winds and Waves, because that's a huge franchise, and everyone's going to want to actually, play it, despite criticism of people who Pokemon's fallen off. It's because those are adults, all the kids are going to want to play that game who like Pokemon. All the teenagers who like Pokemon are going to want to play Winds and Waves. I think Winds and Waves will sell pretty well. The Pokemon games that historically have sold not that great are the enhanced editions, because people have already played the regular versions. And so those historically sell a little bit less. And DLCs, right? Because Ogerpon and the Teal Mask or whatever it was called for Scarlet and Violet didn't sell that great, and then whatever the follow-up to that was also didn't sell that amazing. If you want to Switch 2, get it now, or else it's going to be kind of a scarce for a while, I would say. But I would also say it probably has a better chance of increasing production again. I have more faith that Nintendo has some sort of business strategy going up rather than PlayStation seemingly just hiking the price because of production costs instead of decreasing production of the PlayStation 5, which might have been a better move. But, the PlayStation 5 is probably in a way higher demand than the Switch 2. So, take this all information with a grain of salt. This is just my personal opinion and also my rambling. Sticking with Sony, though, they closed Dark Outlaw Games, a studio formed by the Call of Duty lead producer Jason Blundell, who is probably the best known for his work on Call of Duty Zombies. If you follow industry, I don't really follow Call of Duty, so that's a newer name to me, but I kind of just looked him up briefly. He left Call of Duty Activision and formed his own company, which was formed and owned under Sony. It was founded in March of 2025 and closed in March 2026. You might be wondering, hey, what games did they make? They didn't make anything. It was the studio made it to 1 year of development of their project, and it got closed. And the studio only had about 20 people in it. All I know, all that's been confirmed is that it wasn't a live service game. But it just seems that, they just got cut from whatever funding or cost-cutting program. And yeah, it sucks. When you spend a year of your life working on a project that will never see the light of day. I'm sure everyone's been there. I was actually there with COVID. Granted, it was a student project for college. I was studying film in England, and it was a really big film project, and I was excited to get it produced and made, and we shot it, and we had to can it because we couldn't do reshoots, we couldn't do anything because of COVID. So, not the same as working on a video game, but I feel like the experience of working on something and it getting canned and never seeing the light of day again sucks. And finally, let's get to the ugly. The ugly is reserved for the worst news of the week, which if you haven't heard already, you're going to hear now. Epic Games has announced it is laying off 1,000 staff due to a downturn in engagement in its evergreen Battle Royale. This story was originally broken by Jason Schreier of Bloomberg, and then moments later, IGN reported on it, and then it spread like wildfire. And an ill omen, in my opinion, if Fortnite can't create a job security at Epic Games. Now, it's not the first time Epic Games has been affected by a downturn in engagement or a bad economy. They did exist during the 2008 recession, in which they were hit pretty hard, and they made it through that, and were able to, finish off Gears of War and all that. Then they made Bulletstorm, which is sure an interesting game that not a lot of people talk about anymore, probably because it's forgettable. But, arcadey, dumb fun. But that's a topic for another time. But in a blog post on their website, Tim Sweeney, the CEO, said, "We're spending significantly more money than we're making, and we have to make major cuts to keep the company funded. This layoff, together with over $500 million of identified cost savings in contracting, marketing, and closing some open roles, puts us in a more stable place." This is really ghoulish because this is $500 million plus the 1,000 employees. And also, Tim Sweeney's under fire because he's a CEO with a big old mansion, big house, and lots of expensive cars. I kind of agree with the notion that layoffs this big is kind of the result of failure in leadership. And, I don't know what it's like over there at Epic Games, but, people who spend way more time in actual professional games journalisms have a lot to say when it comes to that. People don't trust journalists because there's some stigma on the internet that can't be trusted, they're paid off. I've been hearing that argument my whole life with not just game journalism, with just general news, and I used to be like, I used to make fun of IGN, especially with their Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire reviews when I was a teenager, when a detractor was too much water. Like, I was a part of that train, the IGN hate train then. But it's vaguely, it's immature, it's all bought off, this and that. I can't imagine a world where there isn't, some, corruption in the news industry. But is it all corrupted? No, I'd not say that. There's a lot of integrity involved. And if you're letting bribes get to you, so you review something good or bad or say whatever, you can't really call yourself a journalist. And there's some people who make a living feeding off of people's rage. And that's been happening with tabloid magazines to now with YouTube grifting videos, where I really am never trying to tell people how they feel. I might get to that point where I'm like, you should feel this way, but I try to emphasize how much of this series is just my opinion, like an opinion piece or an opinion column in a video format. So once again, if you have an opinion, respectfully leave a comment down below, and I'll happily respond to it. I do read them all, by the way. There is some good news, I guess, from the layoffs news at Epic Games. Now, since Epic Games is laying off 1,000 employees, those who are affected are getting 4-month severance and an extended 6-month insurance benefits. But as Jason Schreier says, it could take up to months to a year, maybe even a little bit over a year in the game industry right now to get a new job, to find new work. Working in it isn't particularly the most stable place. Job security is really lacking. And, this is where I'm going to sound like a communist. Oh boy, I'm going to sound like a communist. This is where unions would really come in handy. There have been some companies that did unionize. I think Bethesda had a union organized recently, but game devs need to be protected, and because if not, we're gonna see layoffs and layoffs and layoffs, and this industry is gonna crash. And I just it's crashing hard right now. Like what's gonna happen in the next 3 months, next year, next 2 years? Where are we gonna be? Because it looks like we're gonna be in hell. It's a bummer note to end on. Like I said, I cover the good, the bad, and the ugly. And, that is the end of the ugly section. Epic Games employees who are affected by the layoffs, I'm really rooting for you. And I'm sorry this had to happen. Tim Sweeney tweeted this tweet that they're like, if you think about it, this is really healthy for the industry because there'll be 1,000 people who say they worked on Fortnite. Which I guess is a benefit, but I think they would like to have their job. I guess, Fortnite's on your resume. I hope you can find success, because that's like one of the most successful games, if not the most successful game of all time. And I was really hoping not to talk about layoffs again. All I can think about is that every time I make a video like this, I am going to have to talk about layoffs. And I said, I'm not going to stop talking about it, no matter how much I hate talking about the subject. There's a lot of talented people out there who make our hobbies possible. Just root for them where you can and hope that they can land on their feet. So just not to end on a somber note, what am I looking forward to / what am I playing? Well, clearly, I'm playing Marvel Rivals Season 7 with a backlog of games such as Resident Evil Requiem. I know I'm doing anything but finishing that game and writing a review, but this segment's gotten more traction than anything I've done in a while, and I like talking about industry news. And I need a place to talk about it all, or else I'm just gonna mindlessly tweet about it on Blue Sky or whatever would post about it or something, or annoy someone to death by yapping about it. So this is my YouTube channel, and I get to choose the topic. And what I'm looking forward to is replaced a cyberpunk Blade Runner-esque 2D narrative action game. Looks awesome. I haven't really watched more of the newer trailers for it because I saw the original trailer and went, that's it, I'm playing it. And I can't wait. It's supposed to come out on April 14th. Was supposed to come out last month, got delayed to April. And at the end of the month, Capcom's new game, Pragmata. I actually think Pragmata looks super cool. I like the concept, and I like how unique it looks. And I definitely will be spending a long time on that, and I'm not going to even promise a video review on it, because I don't even know how long the game's going to be. I just know I want to play it. It's totally up my alley, this weird sci-fi game with kind of this, sci-fi niche. Adult takes an orphan child from what it looks like. I think the little girl's an android, actually, but, it's that sci-fi trope. Adult and little kid go on an adventure and probably bond, and probably create a familial bond or a father-daughter relationship, whatever you want to call it. Something's happening, right? That's the message. Found family. I don't really care. It looks pretty fun. Looks really cool. I have wishlisted Pragmata already. Also, I think it's only $60, so it's less than your usual title. Yeah, Pragmata is listed on Steam as $59.99. Okay, that's great. I'd pay that. And more games should be $59.99 in my opinion. Well, with that, this will end this week's video. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And yeah, as always, I'll see you in the next video. Oh, and subscribe!